This is the Walden B1E. This is a baritone 27-inch scale, low-pitched monster. It's super cool. This one has some really cool features that are very different, like this round sound hole here. It's also got a little sound port here. Now, the first thing out of the gate you need to know about this guitar is that this guitar was sent to me for free, so let's lead with that. I was given this guitar by Walden. I've had it for a month or so, maybe a little longer than that now. I've really gotten to play it and live with it, and so this is a 3-question gear review. I'm going to talk about what's good about this thing, what's bad about this thing, and if you're in the market for a baritone, this kind of guitar, do I think you should buy it? Do I think you should check it out? Now, the Walden is really interesting to me for a couple reasons. There's some really cool specky things that are going on here that make it a very different kind of guitar to play. Now, the first one is obvious. It's a baritone. It's a 27-inch scale length. It's tuned to B standard. It's low. It's growly. It has a whole different thing going for it. Now, the other thing, because of these two sound holes, the sound hole and the sound port, it's a very different driver seat experience. Now, a lot of times in the driver experience, the sound hole is pointing away from you and it's down here and it's aiming that way. And so what this microphone ends up hearing is very different than what I hear just sitting in the room with the guitar. But what's really cool is it sounds bassy and full and different. So this is a grand orchestra size, which means that it's a smaller body to a full long scale length, so it doesn't feel like you're all splayed out playing in a mariachi band or feel like you're playing a bass. It feels like a regular guitar. It doesn't throw you off as much. Now, it is a little farther out here, but it doesn't feel any crazier or it doesn't feel very much different than a regular acoustic guitar. Now, because the sound hole's not in the middle, it allows for longer braces and a longer body here, where they were able to put the bridge a little farther back. So it's more centered around the entire active area of the top. Now, there's another guitar coming from Paige Guitars that you'll hear a lot more about that kind of design, that if you can get the bridge closer to the center of the active area of the top of an acoustic guitar, you'll get just a lot more oomph out of it. The last thing that you should know about that will change the tone of this guitar is the mass relieved braces inside. So as the X brace, there has been material removed from the braces themselves. It comes together as a really playful guitar. This is a rut buster. If you are stuck playing the same riffs and they sound the same and you just feel bored and you're stuck, I rarely say that gear is the answer to being stuck in a rut, but I think changing up the tone, changing up the scale length, changing up the pitch, so many things, you can't play the same things and not feel excited and that it's more playful. The other thing that's really cool, it does have a Fishman prefix plus T. This is one of the Fishman. It's very similar. If you've been around like praise and worship guitars, you have seen this kind of preamp for a long time. There's an end pin down here where the jack comes out of the end pin with a strap. It's very, very kind of normal industry standard, what you would expect. The other good things about this guitar I really love, there are black tuner keys up here. There's nothing about this that feels super traditional, which is awesome, totally welcomed, and very exciting. There is so much to like about this guitar. There's so much that is good about this guitar, and there are also things that aren't as good, could even be bad about this guitar. Now, the first thing for me is if you are a traditional guitar player, this thing is not going to be for you for most of the reasons that make it good and exciting and different and innovative. It's got a weird sound hole that everyone that I have played this guitar in front of has been like, that's weird. Everyone has commented on the sound hole. One thing that is interesting to me is that you can see the laminate in the side. Now, this guitar is solid top, laminate back and sides, and that's good and to be expected. It is interesting to me. I think I would rather see this have some binding on it or some kind of treatment in the hole because you can see the layers of laminate in the sound port on the side. Not the end of the world, but it is an interesting aesthetic to see the actual laminated layers of wood. Now, the only thing I really have to critique this guitar on is the pickup system. So I had this guitar at the same time that I had the Guild 8-string baritone, and those two are very, very, very different guitars. But they both had pickups made by Fishman. Now the Fishman pickup that came in the Guild 8-string is loud, it's clear, it's powerful, it sounds wonderful, it sounds like the guitar itself. And then this one is very low volume in comparison. Now, this has plenty of good things going for it. It has a built-in tuner, has a ton of tweakability, the notch, the EQ, all of those things. You can change the phase. It is really cool, and this is why this has been the industry standard, but this does feel stuck in 2005. This is the same kind of pickup that you've had forever. Now, to me, the tone when this is plugged in is quacky. It sounds like a piezo pickup under the saddle, an under saddle transducer. I mean, it has that kind of quacky thing. Now, the only thing that really is interesting to me is just how low the volume is coming out. I don't know what that is because I played it against a couple other pickups. Now, with that, there's one last thing that I found. So when this guitar came to me, it had kind of dead strings, and I always like to restring them and get them going. What happened with the strings with this, I ordered a set of strings that were recommended to me from Sweetwater, and they came from the Walden website directly. It was the D'Addario, the EXP23s, but those strings have been discontinued, and now they've put out the D'Addario XT11s, I think they're called, which is kind of confusing because they're a 16 to a 70, or maybe a 17 to a 70, but I got the strings, and those strings were originally designed for a longer scale guitar. Those were originally designed for the Tacoma, the Thunderbird, I think it was called. That was a 30-inch scale. That really felt like a bass. That was a weird guitar, more a bass than it was a guitar, where this is much more a guitar than a bass. But the problem is the bass string on that is wound and it's tapered. So it's the full 70, but then it steps down so they can go through the tuner. But the problem that I found with this was that taper, because it's a 27-inch scale length, the taper on that string happens after the string head itself, or the tuner head itself. It just makes it incredibly difficult to get the string through the hole in the tuner itself. It psyched me out. I eventually ended up just getting a pair of pliers and just pulling it. And it did work, like it eventually pulled all the way through, but it was a bit unnerving. I think that will be fixed because right now there aren't any 30-inch baritone acoustics on the market, and I've heard that D'Addario is going to change that and swap it, but it is unnerving. So my two main issues are the pickup, the pickup and preamp just feel a little dated, and then the strings are going to be a little tricky buying a guitar that is just so different. So now that all arrives you at the question of, if you're in the market for this thing, should you buy a guitar like this? I think that if you are in the market for a baritone guitar, a baritone acoustic, if you like cool, funky, different styling, I think that this guitar could be very much for you. In the end, I think there are many more good things about this guitar. It is inspiring and dynamic and cool. It sounds incredible to sit and play. It's a really comfortable size. It's not without the two things, the pickup and the strings, but both of those are problems that seem to be passing problems and you could live with them. Now, what's been really fun is all along this process of reviewing this guitar, getting this guitar, I've actually been talking with the designer and owner of Walden, with Jonathan Lee, who is just awesome. I love meeting guitar enthusiasts that we are just of one heart as far as like the things we like and the things we care about. And so this is a really cool and really well-designed guitar, and it's just, I don't know, it's just making room for a whole new way to play guitar, and I love that. So if you look at the roles of what guitars you should have if you're starting a guitar collection, this would fit in so typically there's Old Faithful. You need to have something cool, old vintage. You need to have the Ride or Die, which is your everyday driver, just the guitar that shows up with you to every show that you can just grind out and get work done. Then the other rolls, you'd have the wild card, you'd have the groundbreaker. So this could fit easily in your groundbreaker roll of it's different, it's funky, it's cool, it's weird. It forces you to do stuff you haven't done before, forces you to grow and think as a musician. So to me, there is absolutely space for this kind of guitar. So there will be a link in the description below, and that is to the Walden B1E. These are very cool guitars. They're incredibly affordable. I'll put the price up here right now. Now that, in the world of YouTube, that always ages the least gracefully, because you'll watch this video 7 years from now and you'll see the price and be like, oh my gosh, I should have bought a dozen of them. And so right now, if you're seeing this in 2021, think about it, look at your bank account, make a plan, start breaking new ground in your guitar playing. This also comes with an amazing hard case. I think there's much more reason to buy this than there would ever be to not. Thanks to Walden for sending me this guitar. Thanks for checking out this 3-question gear review. I am Jeremy, I'm the Guitar Hunter. Go and fill the world with music and friendship. Offer kindness as you're buying and selling guitars, and make sure that people's dignity stays intact as you deal with them. So, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later.